Hi, welcome. I'm Mug Thief, and I'm here to bring you my first impressions on Dark Envoy, the new indie CRPG, tactical combat with pause and online multiplayer game that is out soon. And boy, do I have a lot to say on this game, mostly very, very positive. So stick around. As a disclaimer, I did receive a review copy from the developer. I received it like 36 hours ago because that's when I found out the game existed and reached out. And I'm glad I did, because after playing up until about the middle of Act 2, I really want to put this game on people's radar if I can, because I think a lot of people will like it. For me, the biggest summary of what Dark Envoy is, it is to tactical combat with pause what Torchlight was to Diablo, or at least that's what I think they're going for. Even in the aesthetics, it reminds me a little bit of Torchlight, which I like. It's got a mixture of like arcane magic, but also there's some steampunk to it and pistols and things like that. It's cool. It is very arcadey. It is a fast-paced game that is very colorful, very flashy, very fun, very satisfying in its gameplay loop, really hooks you in and doesn't let you go. And I think a lot of people are going to be enticed by what this game is offering. It is a CRPG, tactical combat with pause or with slowdown, along with a story very clearly divided between the two bad guys that could be good guys. It very much has a perspective of everything is gray. We don't know who the good guys are, the Empire or the League. And you are just kind of an independent in the middle. You play as preset characters. All of the characters are voiced, but keep in mind, this is an indie production, and that will show. Not all of the voice acting is excellent. Not all of the camera work is excellent. You're not going to be in love with all of the cutscenes. This is an indie game, and that does apply to the gameplay, which is more polished up, but not perfect. But it is a game where you play through a story with also some optional missions on the side, with some randomized dungeons that you can go through for loot and XP. You progress through it. You can make some decisions that the developers say are going to be very impactful later on in the game, but I cannot confirm this myself. The story is perfectly fine. I don't think it's going to set the world on fire, but it is enough for me to like pay attention, and the voice acting definitely helps for this. I love that all of the characters are voice acted. Once you reach Act 2, you're going to have 4 potential companions aside from the 2 main characters that you always have with you in your party. Potentially the max party size is 4, so you're going to choose 2 of these 4 companions, and you immediately know who they are because of their banter and their quips and their voice lines in combat when you're out exploring. I like this a lot, and that extends to the cutscenes, and the story is perfectly serviceable. Enough for me to pay attention as to actually make a decision when they show up, instead of just randomly selecting things because I'm skipping it to reach the gameplay. But the meat and potatoes here is definitely the gameplay. That is why you're coming here. That is why you might stay here and play through the game. This is a very arcadey, very action-packed, fast, frenetic combat system that is really easy to get hooked on. You have 4 main character classes, and all 4 of those have 3 specializations each. These specializations do matter. To give you an example, a warrior can choose to be a guardian, which is the first additional companion you get, but my character is a dual-wield assassin DPS and is also a warrior. So the guardian is a big brawny tank with taunts that's there to defend, and another warrior can be a pure DPS machine. So you already have a lot of different choices to make in how you're going to build out your party through that, choosing what the specialization of your characters are going to be. You have a ton of different skills available to you, and then you have gear, which so far in my limited playtime with the game has been phenomenal. Finding a unique or even a legendary, they do crazy things. I found a pistol that shoots lightning and it's awesome. I found a hammer that has an area of effect cone every time you hit and throws sparks and makes people go flying. That's a lot of fun. A lot of the skills here are very active and cool. Like, not only do you have your regular skills, but the weapon type that you're using also gives you a skill. And for example, the shield lets you dash through enemies, knocking them up in the air and stunning them. and it just, sometimes battles look great with just how much stuff is going on, but in a very fun way. And this battle system is very active. If it sounds like there's a lot of movement going on and stuns and interruptions, that's because that's what the game wants. You want to position your characters well, to target prioritize the things you should, deal damage, but especially during boss fights or with bigger elite enemies, you are going to have to be on top of things and dodge attack cones or different attacks that, very much like MMO mechanics, you know, are going to be charging up in front of you. You're going to want to interrupt channels by enemies. There are things that'll keep you engaged during the combat. However, this is my only big but with the game, is at least on normal difficulty, if you're not fighting a boss or just some specific encounters that if you approach them wrong will just end you. Most of the time I've been able on normal to set my entire party to autonomous mode, which means that when they enter combat, I don't need to manually tell them all what to do all the time. They will, through AI, theoretically make the best decision possible and just kind of auto fight. And that has been enough to never really worry too much. So I just kind of leave everybody on auto fight. I pick the character with the flashiest skills to control myself. I do damage because it's fun. I then loot everything up and I just keep doing that until a fight bodies me. And then I'm like, oh, I have to pay attention here. If you're in for that more ARPG real-time combat system in a game like this, that's going to be really fun. Even though it sounds like kind of brain dead, it's pretty fun, and sometimes you do have to pay attention, and the game is flashy and colorful and satisfying, and picking up loot and experimenting with things makes it entertaining regardless. And right when you might be falling asleep, you're going to encounter a boss that's going to require you to actually pay attention. However, I think that if what I'm talking about doesn't sound like the type of CRPG that appeals to you, and for me in the long term it isn't, you should bump the difficulty up to hard directly. Not to the most difficult thing, but to hard, because there you're actually going to have to pause a lot and dodge and make sure your characters are well positioned and doing what they're supposed to the targets that they're supposed to. But it's still pretty fast, frenetic, and fun. So like I said with Torchlight, compared to Diablo, this is just a very arcadey, almost roguelite feeling combat system with a very decent story attached to it as you go through the game, level up, customize your characters, get cool gear. You have crafting, you have enchantments, you have stores, you have all the things you might expect in a game like this. But the meat and potatoes is that loop of heading into a dungeon, getting into a bunch of different combat scenarios, taking everything down, getting your loot, leveling up, and then going into the next one. And I can confirm, it's deceptively really good. You might think when you see it, oh, this seems like an indie game, seems perfectly fine. Actually playing the game is really satisfying. It's really fun to whack stuff with that hammer and see them flying, or to shoot my new pistol that shoots lightning. I don't know what is the best target audience for a game like Dark Envoy. I don't think it's going to appeal to hardcore RPG fans that really want to make a lot of decisions in a narrative sense. I don't know if it's going to appeal to maybe people that are more into ARPGs, because this does have a lot of an ARPG feeling to it, or just classic CRPG heads that really want that real-time with pause combat, but in a more arcadey, less strict, less dense, planning all of the time kind of feel, because I don't think you're going to get that unless you really bump the difficulty up. But I do think that somewhere in the middle of those three things, Dark Envoy is going to be a game that a lot of people enjoy. Those are my impressions. I do not know if I will do a full final review of the game, because I have like 17 video projects, by the way. If you're new here, subscribe. If you're not new here, USA is coming out real soon. So if you want to see 1.5 hour videos, we got those coming. Oh god, I'm so tired, please kill me. But Dark Envoy is definitely something that you should wishlist. I also think that games like these tend to get even better with time. There's obviously going to be bug fixes. I've encountered some bugs in combat. I've encountered bugs in cinematics where maybe the audio was gone, or the camera angle, just the depth of field bugged out and I couldn't see anything during the cutscene. The small combat glitches on normal difficulty really didn't matter, didn't hinder my experience at all, but they probably do on higher difficulties, and I think they'll be ironed out. These sorts of games tend to receive more content, and I just think there's a lot of potential in what Dark Envoy is selling, and I just want to put it on your radar. Hit the like button if you think more people should watch this video, and I will see you very soon.